And with that, we're now going to move into the sacred centering part of our service. So I'm going to invite Reverend Carolyn Ballinger, who's going to lead us in a reading and a prayer, and then I will follow with a meditation.
Good morning, dear ones. It's funny, the first thing I picked to read was something about the silence. Maybe I should have stuck with that. No, this just spoke to me when I found it. I'm packing because I'm supposed to be moving by March, and I'm not sure where I'm going yet, but maybe as far as Ocala, I don't know. And so this new year, I'm being greeted with a little melancholy because all my life is just a little, unsure. So I found this, and it's called Guide Me. And it was kind of a prayer I wrote. It was something I wrote when I was raising my kids out in California. And so maybe it'll help us all in the new year to feel a little more guided. So if you want to close your eyes, you can. Otherwise, just contemplate. And I've used the word Lord. Back then, I really used the word Lord a lot. It really spoke to me. So if you don't like that, just interject whatever word you have for divine, okay? Don't let that step you up. Lord, help me to not give too much and to not expect so much from people whom I care about. Help me to believe in and support and forgive those whom I cherish the most. Help me to appreciate the good times we share, to not be so negative when reality doesn't measure up to my intentions. Help me to be positive and uplifting to myself and to all those I touch, whether they be a friend or just an acquaintance. Don't allow me to bring myself or anyone else down by seeing circumstances through my past experiences rather than through your eyes. Give me strength in times of weakness and joy in place of doubt. Help me learn to cherish and forgive myself so I might learn to cherish and forgive others. Open my eyes to your love, Lord. Help me to avoid and distance myself from any false friends or those who choose to inflict fear rather than love into our interactions. Guide me to my place of peace where I can live and grow in your love. Guide and direct me on my journey to fulfillment and allow me to be okay with where others are on their own path. Help me to support them rather than trying to redirect them, and allow them to help me to bend but not to break me. Guide me so that I might learn to build myself up and keep myself satisfied regardless of my interactions with others. Help me to be okay with the steps that I must take towards enlightenment and to bless and release all negative interactions as I choose to carry only the lesson and the joy and to leave behind the fear. In your name and love always. Amen. And so it is. Might you join me in this journey. Peace and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Reverend Carolyn, for that beautiful prayer. And now we say prayer is talking to God, the God of our understanding. And it is said that meditation is listening to God. So now I'd like to guide you in meditation for the next few minutes here. And those of you at home, online, those of you here with me in the sanctuary, allow this bell to awaken you back to this present moment, to the timeless dimension that is always here within you. Each breath is an opportunity for a new beginning. So I invite you now, maybe you'd like to close your eyes, keep them at a soft gaze, or focus on something ahead of you. Just coming into the awareness of this present moment. Noticing the breath as it connects to your physical body. Becoming aware of sensations that you are experiencing. And allowing the exhale breath to help you release and let go of any tension, tiredness, weariness, anything that you need to let go of so that you can surrender completely into this present moment. Maybe scanning your body temple here and connecting with the exhale breath, releasing and letting go as you go deeper inside yourself. Maybe taking a few cleansing breaths here with me. As you inhale through the nose, drawing the breath all the way up the spine, through the top of the shoulders, maybe bringing the shoulders towards your ears, holding, pausing, and as you exhale, slowly letting go. Watch the breath as it moves down, inviting ease, release, maybe allowing a smile to come over your face as you know that this is the way in, deep inside, to the sanctuary, the safety, the security that is always here within us, within you, in this present moment. Take another cleansing breath here as you inhale, maybe inhaling for a count of 5, make it long, expanding the abdomen, the rib cage. Maybe pausing at the top, and as you exhale, letting go. Follow the breath down. And then maybe doing this a few more times and noticing where you need to send the breath to invite more ease and relaxation into the body temple. So maybe now you're noticing the more relaxed your body is. Maybe now you bring awareness to the screen of your thoughts, the third eye. Maybe noticing if you can connect with the breath. And notice how the breath will always banish any thoughts that want to impede in this moment. So we've relaxed the body, still the mind. Now, can you sit in the silence as you listen to the soft voice of the God of your understanding? Here in the silence. breathe in love. And as I exhale, I flow with life. I breathe in love. And as I exhale, I flow with life. I breathe in love, and as I exhale, I flow with life. I let go of the past with ease, and as I exhale, I flow with life. I let go of the past with ease, and as I exhale, I flow with life. Each breath is an opportunity to begin again. My past is behind me. I am not my mistakes and regrets. Each breath is an opportunity to begin anew. So taking another few moments here in the quiet sanctuary within yourself, allowing your whole being to vibrate with light. Rising above all limitations, I am aware. I am pure spirit. I am. Keeping your eyes closed now, but slowly bringing awareness back to your body, maybe by taking your hands down, rubbing your hands together. And however you like to close, maybe bringing your hands together in prayer position. Anjali Mudra as you bring them to your heart space. Just bowing the head, the mind, the ego towards the heart. Taking a moment to acknowledge this time, the divinity of who you are, knowing that you can return here again and again and again. Slowly now, as we begin to open up our eyes, maybe allowing a smile to come over our faces, feeling ourselves renewed, regenerated, and until we meet again, the divine light within me honors, sees the divine light within each and every one of you. Namaste.
Om Shanti. Yummy. Everybody smile at me. Ooh, thank you for that. Reverend Aileen. In some ways, it's hard to believe that this is a new year already. January the 5th, 2025, 52025. Interesting. We've declared that, and I even have a bracelet here that says so, thrive in 2025. We've declared that that's what our intention is. And I've said to you that I think that thrive in 2025, I've put on the front end of it for me, learning to, instead of survival, have a revival of your thrival. We're intended to thrive. We've just been taught otherwise. We've been inundated with programming from a system that has big I's and little U's and has us in this play of life. And, we can play those roles, but I don't know about you, but I think I prefer thriving. Anybody else? Over surviving, I mean. Most of us our society is built for us to spend a lot of our time in fight, flight, or freeze. And when we spend our time in fight, flight, or freeze, we have a tendency to be more sick. That's why we see more dis-ease in our world. Because when you're in that fight, flight, or freeze, you're in that zone or in that frame of being where you're constantly under stress. And they're starting to find out, and have found out really for years, but the information is out now, that oxidative stress in the cells is what causes most disease. And a lot of it's about how we think. Bruce Lipton is one who released a wonderful book a few years ago, and the title of the book was The Biology of Belief. And he's a doctor, he's a medical doctor, and was actually teaching medical doctors at university level. And he found in his own laboratory research that the power of what you believe and how you believe determines a lot of whether or not you get sick and stay sick, chronic illness. And he actually found out through his studies that there's only 6, maybe 7 diseases that are actually inheritable. And yet that seemed to be the baseline of the teaching in the medical schools, that if your mama got it, you're going to get it. Or more than likely you will. You're predisposed. You've heard those terminologies, predisposed. Well, I would like to dispose of the idea of predisposition. And instead of that, align ourselves with a higher truth. Quantum physics, breakthroughs in neuroscience is beginning to teach us that what mind science and higher ways and higher consciousness has been teaching for generations is actually more true than what we've experienced so far in what I call our sick care system, not our health care system. That's the sleight of hand, is that it's a healthcare system. It's not. It's a sick care system. Now, I'm not dogging out doctors. I appreciate them, especially surgical doctors. They're pretty amazing at what they can do with the body temple. But when it comes to a lot of the medicines, I believe that in many ways we've just drugged ourselves into clipping the check engine light so that we don't realize there's something still going on. I mean, imagine going to your mechanic and that's all they do. They don't fix your transmission. They just clip the check engine light so you stop worrying about the light you see on the dash. But it doesn't go into drive or reverse. And you're like, what's wrong? And if it's nothing's wrong, look at the dash. Does it say anything's wrong? But that's what we've been doing, is sort of ignoring some things. And here's what's, I think, worse, is that I believe we've moved from the age of church or the age of religion into the age of spiritual enlightenment or expansion of consciousness. And in many ways, those who have been studying the arts of New Thought belief system have learned how to spiritually bypass so much that they don't actually have connection with their psychology and physiology, because I ain't here. I'll say it to you in a joke. There's a Catholic priest, a Baptist preacher, and a Scientologist that go to hell. Before they get to hell, they meet with St. Peter, and St. Peter says, you're going to hell. How do you feel about that? And the Baptist guy goes, well, I guess I got it wrong. I never got saved. I admit it. He says, into hell. The Catholic priest goes before St. Peter. St. Peter says, hey, you're going to hell. How do you feel about that? And he says, well, I got some people praying me out of there. He goes to the Scientologist next, and he says, how do you feel about going to hell? And he said, I ain't here. In other words, there was a denial of what he was experiencing. Now, I don't believe in the traditional hell, so go ahead and that was just a joke. It's all a joke. In fact, the eternal torture chamber that we've been taught from church is just one big long joke, only it's not a joke. It creates nightmares, and we start to actually create the hells that we live in. But I believe that if we're going to learn how to really thrive and not survive, that there may be a systematic way for us to do that. So if we're learning how to thrive in 2025, I had sort of the strangest New Year's Eve and New Year's Day that I've had in a long time, because I've just been in a very interesting sort of, not trance, but just very focused, been laser focused on my internal self. So check this out. I'm just inviting you on the journey with me. If you decide to get off the train, let me know so I can push the brakes, okay? So just go along with me. I am not some kind of a guru, not some kind of a great teacher. I am just on the journey with you. Just consider me your red-headed stepbrother, and I actually have hair again, so it is red. People are starting to see that beyond the white hair or the bald head. It is actually red hair, and I'll just be your red-headed stepbrother as we go along. Now, here's what I've decided to do. I want to do a series. I don't know how long this series is going to go on, but I want to do a series because I believe we can put together a recipe for thriving. And here's where it started for me personally, because when I'm praying and meditating about this subject, I'm asking for divine guidance, and I received it. And this was the opening for me, and that was freedom from personal identity, or freedom from personality. Now, when I say freedom from personality, I'm not talking about us coming in here and no longer having personality. I'm just saying us being completely lost in our personality is a false reality, because our personality was built mostly by other people. Think about it. Now, if you've been doing the practice of meditation for a long time, maybe you have already discovered your true self, but most of the world is living in a constant state of imposterism. I don't think that's a word, but I'll just make it up. In other words, they're the imposters of their own life, because they're just living their life trying to be who everyone else told them to be. And then the people who stop doing that are often also living another false identity, because they're living in rebellion to everybody telling them what to be, deciding to be I'm going to be my unapologetic self, and they are also attaching themselves to an identity that's not real. Like they'll say, now I'm a liberal. Well, that's a buzzword, isn't it, in our world? Anybody else? Now I'm a liberal, or now I am progressive, or now I am spiritual, or now I am... And listen, I want you to know some of these things maybe feel tight as we go along, but our identifying with groups that separate from each other causes us to leave the others out. Actually, it causes us to create another. And when it does, it brings us out of the oneness that we have with all of life. Now, there are certain groups that I'm just simply can't go along with in terms of in the physical world and the play that I'm in. I certainly can't agree with some of the groups that are in the world, but can I rise above it, transcend it, and see beyond their actions, beyond the personality, who they really are, and recognize their true oneness with me? Jesus said this: you must be born again so you see the kingdom, so that you can see the kingdom of God. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this: what lies behind us and what lies before us is a tiny matter compared to what lies within us. So Jesus is identifying what's within, and so is Ralph Waldo Emerson. And if we take just a moment to think about it, when Jesus says you must be born again, he's not making a religious statement. He's talking about a shift in perspective. He says it in the second line: you must be born again so that you can see. Perception is the ultimate reality, whether it's the ultimate truth or not. So that you can perceive or have a different perspective, you need to be born again. He's talking about renewal, not religion. Different R word. He's talking about remodeling, maybe. And see, as we come into a new season, I realize that we're talking about renewal, and some of us feel a sense of renewal. But while we feel a sense of renewal, we need to understand that in order to renew or to remodel, the old model must go away, because it stands in the way of the new model. And when you're going to remodel, if you've ever done it, oh my God. You ever remodeled something? There is deconstruction, there is dissolution, And then there's reconstruction. But what has to happen first? Dissolution and deconstruction. Then you can begin. Then you can begin to replace. Anybody with me? All right. So I believe dissolution will ultimately lead us to evolution. But we've been looking for evolution and not willing to have a dissolving of what's been standing in the way. And so that's a struggle for us all. We're struggling with an overwhelm of what I call self-perception. It's a false identity. And even if we identify as progressives, we identify as New Thought, if we get too caught up in those identities, we're doing the same thing. We become fundamentalist about not being fundamentalist. Or we get dogmatic about not being dogmatic, and both dogmas end up in rabies. So I'm talking about taking a rabies shot to inoculate yourself, to immunize yourself from being associated with these external personalities. Somebody was mentioning the other day, we had a conversation actually about human sexuality and how that's become such an interesting subject in our world. And people stand on different sides with it. And I was asked the question, well, you as a minister and as a progressive, because they automatically tagged me that, how do you see human sexuality? And I said, well, I'm kind of getting to the place where I don't much anymore. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, well, I've decided to be post-sexual. Didn't mean I've quit having sex. I'm saying, but I'm intending to be post-sexual in the sense of identifying what it is. You love who you love. You express your love in the way that it comes through you more naturally. But we don't have to be attached to the labels. Now, I know we live in a society that has oppressed gay and lesbian, transgender people, LGBTQIA. That's one of the reasons that we loudly say we are radically inclusive. Because I know that there are particular groups in our world, in our country, whether it's racism or homophobia or sexism, I know there are groups, and I'm not ignoring that. I'm not saying that we're not a part of a peaceful elevation of those who have been pressed down. That's not what I'm saying. But let's be careful that we don't get too identified with the label that we've put on ourselves or someone else has tried to put on us. Father Richard Rohr, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Father Richard Rohr is one of the most amazing modern Catholic mystics that there is. Fantastic writer. He's a Franciscan priest, and the Franciscan priests have always been a little out on the edge. They all came from out of the lineage and sort of the philosophy of St. Francis. Father Richard Rohr, wonderful teacher, says this: your true self is who you objectively are from the beginning, your origin, in the mind and the heart of God. He goes on to say, it's the face you had before you were born, as the Zen masters teach. Father Richard Rohr says, your true self is who you objectively are from the beginning, your original origin, before somebody put on you all of the labels. Your true self is the one who came from the heart mind of God. It's the face you had before you were born. You've heard me say this, and some of the things that I'm saying today, you'll say, this sounds like a repeat. I know, because I want us to get to the place where we perfect this. Perfection, or the practice may not lead to perfect, but it certainly makes more permanent. In other words, we start to operate this way without thinking about it. We become masters of this understanding of our designation. We're not caught in the design or the signature of significance that the world says, but we know that we were signed. The contract for our divinity and our beingness was signed before we ever came here. And so you are significant simply because you exist. And then you don't have to identify with all of the other things. You can decide to bow out. Now, some people would say that's easy for you to say. You're a white, middle-aged male. I'm aware of this. I'm aware of my privilege in the world enough to lift my voice in the public sphere for right and equal treatment and respect for all people. I'm talking to us as people who have believed we're spiritual, and I'm asking us to turn over this new leaf. I'm asking us to be born again, so that we can truly see the kingdom of God and stop operating toward it and start operating from it. Can we hear that today? Just like we don't pray to God, we pray from God. To truly know your essence is to be able to begin to outpicture who you truly are. See, as long as you make an identity for yourself out of your pain and your disappointment, you cannot be free from it. As long as we are stuck in our identities, that's what Eckhart Tolle tells us. As long as we're stuck in our identities, we'll never be free from them. So I want to be free from that. Let me tell you, I'm going so far, this may sound weird. Remember, I said I would warn you if I get really weird or woo-woo. This may sound strange, but I'm even going so far as to not be identified with being John Scott, preacher, teacher, spiritual guy. I'm going so far as to not be identified as even a male human being. Because I appreciate this body, I'm going to take care of it, but I recognize that the vehicle is just the vehicle. The envelope is not as important as the letter that's in it. And the letter that's within your envelope is most important. And can that come more to the forefront? I believe this is the number one secret to thriving. Because we emancipate ourselves from the limitations that the world has put on us. Our concepts have been conning us out of our greater life. And we can be free. Pat yourself on the chest and say, I am free. Now I'm going to act like it. I think now more than ever is the ideal time to really embrace a meditation and a prayer practice. And I mean, go into that prayer closet as it's mentioned in Christianity. Go into that space, that spaciousness of meditation as is mentioned in Eastern thought and in philosophy. Going into that silence, not being afraid of your true self. Many of us are so afraid of the silence. We prefer distraction because we're concerned about our reaction to our true self. We're so embarrassed of our own self that many of us continue to dress ourselves up just so that we can impress the rest of the world. And what's happening during thriving is you get rid of the need to impress because now you are working with all of the possibilities of expressing who you really are. And what the world needs now is you fully alive in your true identity. Lao Tzu said this, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. Carl Jung, who was arguably I would say he was the Einstein of psychotherapy and psychology in the previous century. It's weird to say that way. He was a century ago. See, I was born in the 1900s. I have to continue to remind my children of this. You have to give your dad a break. I was born in the 1900s. Carl Jung said, your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. The one who looks outside is only dreaming. The one who looks inside awakens. Can we hear that? And I know, some of our minds are going, you say this all the time. I know. I'm not even repeating this on purpose. This was the download that I got for my own self. I'm sharing with you what came to me about my own personal journey toward thriving. And how I was able to see those pockets of my life that weren't yet surrendered to the true self. The one who is still trying to perform. The one who is still trying to gain credit from the outside world. And the more credit you get from the outside world, the more your debt will be and the higher the interest. Be your own bank. Let go of the credit cards of self-identity and personality and shift to a cash-only life. Living from the depths of your treasure. There's a treasure within you that is hidden. I want us to uncover it. How many would like to uncover the deepest treasure of your life in the year of 2025? And I'm not talking, listen, let's stop allowing CNN and Fox News to forecast our life. Let's stop letting Donald Trump or whoever else is the president forecast our life. Folks, we have been lost in the loop of looking for some great leader to rise up and fix it all. The fixer is on the inside of you. Physician, heal thyself. I have been anointed to preach good news to the poor, to open up the prison to those who are bound, to open up the eyes to those who are blind. I have been anointed and appointed and given energetic power to bring the deaf ears to openness so that they can hear. That is you. That's your mandate. That's your calling. And it's the message. Okay. I didn't mean to preach. I was just going to chat. Number one, I'm going to go through these quickly. Somebody say, thank you, Jesus. I'm going to miss that. You're going to have to make sure you visit wherever you move to. You have to visit so you can come back and say, thank you, Jesus, because the way you said it is perfect. Number one, self-knowledge and wisdom. These are ingredients for how to let go of that personal, to become free from the personal identity. And I wrote it this way: true wisdom isn't about understanding the world or those around you. It is about understanding you. When you take the time to really know yourself, to know your strengths, to know your weaknesses, your likes and your dislikes, you find understanding about others is a lot more simple. In fact, you find that you don't have to do any work to understand anyone else when you truly understand you. And here's what happens: you stop needing to forgive other people because you understand your own self. And you realize in that understanding that you get it. I know why some people do what they do, as crazy as some of those things are. And so you stop grappling with hatred or judgment because you have a deep understanding. The key to letting go, or the key to letting judgment for others go, is to fully understand and fully accept you. My issue with loving other people is not them, it's me. Can we hear that? Without guilt and judgment. But my issue with loving my wife on a higher level is because I'm working with loving me on a higher level. Same thing with my children, anyone else that I come in contact with. And how can I go within and stop going without? This journey of introspection instead of inspection of others, it really to me echoes that old quote, and I think it was Shakespeare who said, "To thine own self be true." Be true to you, that's all. Pat yourself on the chest and say, I will be true to me. No need to be true to others. I'll be true to me. See, my work is not, the truth is here. So when I'm true to me, what happens is I become a walking embodiment of truth. And I don't need to work on my truth with you because I'm working on the truth here. Number two, self-mastery is power. Real power comes not from exerting control over others, but mastering my own thoughts, my own emotions, my own prejudice, my own judgments, my own concepts of myself. It's about building my inner strength. It's about cultivating my own personal discipline. Same root word as disciple. Who are you a disciple of? Who is it that you're following? Are you really a disciple of the Christ consciousness, not the Jesus person, no longer on the planet? Am I really a disciple of the Christ person? And if I am, then I can learn to cultivate a discipline and find a sense of peace. All of us are looking for peace. I found wisdom in these words from the New Testament of the Christian Bible, and it said, if one has tamed the tongue, they've tamed the whole body. And here's what I got from that. It reminds me that my outer world is a reflection of my inner state of being. In other words, if my words have shifted, it's because my heart has shifted. If my words and actions have shifted, it's because my mind and my heart has shifted. If I've been able to tame my words, which means I'm not violent with my words, I'm not dangerous with my words, it's because the heart and the mind have been tamed. That's self-mastery, going within so that you don't go without. Then there becomes this cool divine dance, this cadence with life, with the Spirit. And what happens is my inner essence really directly affects my outer display. What's in a computer is what will come up on the screen and nothing else. What you call up is what will come up on the screen. What you're displaying is what's inside of you. When you squeeze an orange, what comes out of it? Orange juice. Why? Because that's what's in it. Life is squeezing you. What's coming out of you? Think about it. Number three, thriving requires, and I'm using that word today. I don't normally use those hardline words, but I really believe that thriving requires the power of stillness. We're going to need to get into the quiet this year. I mean, every year, but if we want to thrive in 2025, literally change the pattern and the habitual experiences of our life, we're going to need to go into the stillness. I think Reverend Aileen can appreciate this, probably Brandon too, that the quiet and the stillness is where we struggle the most. Most of us have a hard time sitting with the quiet. But it's in the silence that there's peace. It's the silence that there's unspoken joy. It's in the silence that we access that deeper divine mind of understanding. And when we understand ourselves, what did we say earlier? We begin to understand the world around us with simplicity because we realize we're a part of the one. This also reminded me of a story in Sunday school, and I'm almost done. How many of you went to Sunday school? In Sunday school, that was the sermon before the sermon. Okay. So you went to Sunday school like 9 o'clock in the morning, then you had coffee and donuts between, you had the 11 o'clock service. That's how it worked. So you had a Sunday school teacher, and they would teach a lesson, and then you would go into the service afterwards after you had gotten all hopped up on sugar. And that's why folks were sleeping during the service instead of the preacher putting them to sleep. They were sleeping because of the donuts. Anyway, this is a story that I heard when I was in Sunday school, and they talked about the prophet Elijah and how Elijah was being challenged by all of the other evil prophets. And so Elijah prayed to God for a miracle of fire to come down and burn a sacrifice, and it happened. And then Elijah felt alienated and concerned. He went off crying somewhere, and he's calling out to God, and he couldn't hear God's voice. So then he's challenged again, and he goes back out and he asks God now for lightning and thunder. Strike the sacrifice and let the thunder roll, and they'll all believe that God is real and that I'm your dude. After it happens, they still don't believe, and he goes and crawls off in a corner, and he's crying again and asking for God to speak to him, and he couldn't find God in the fire. He couldn't find God in the storm or the thunder and the lightning. And it says in verse 12 of 1 Kings 19, alas, I stilled myself, and there she was in the quiet. I put in she, okay? For those who get messed up with that stuff, remember, let go of the identities. There she was. This is where we get the terminology, God speaks with a still, small. So in the stillness, we'll hear. Ram Dass used to say it all this way. It's so like obvious, but he would say obvious things, and it was just like, I don't know if you had that experience with some teachers. Ram would say, the more quiet you get, the easier it is to hear. And you think, duh, until you realize, no. We're not being quiet. We're constantly being distracted. God speaks, divine mind gives information and guidance in the stillness. Number 4, the journey of self-discovery is a must in order to thrive in 2025. But the journey of self-discovery is a lifelong adventure. There's nowhere you arrive at. You are a constant state of shifting, changing, evolving, and unfolding as your beautiful self. And I don't want to bust your bubble, but this earth journey is a very small part of your eternal journey. What I'm saying is, chill out and give yourself some grace. There's nowhere to get to. When you're talking about enlightenment, it's not like you can GPS that stuff. You're not going to GPS and have turn by turn. It's going to require us to understand that self-discovery is a constant unfoldment, so I'm going to need to go easy on myself and allow myself the room and the grace to unfold. Bishop D.E. Paulk says it this way: truth is not a destination, it's a journey. The unfolding of yourself is the path. And it's not about achieving perfection in the way we measure perfection. It's about progressing. Siddhartha Buddha said, there's only 2 things that can derail your journey of enlightenment. Number 1, not ever starting. And number 2, not continuing. Notice he didn't say not finishing, not continuing. Ever unfolding. Pat yourself on the chest and say, it's all right, baby. It's all right. It's all right. See, when we live our life as an ever unfolding, we start to see the beauty of life, and we start to allow the power of life to work with us instead of against us. Life is not against you. God is not mad at you. Life is not meant to be endured. It's meant to be lived in fullness, not in perfection, but a constant state of unfolding. So chill out. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, chill out. You still a little crazy. Just chill out. Just headed toward enlightenment. Number 5, one of the recipes for thriving. And again, I'm just sharing these as points that came to me. These were my meditations this week. One of the recipes for thriving is harmony with nature. Getting back to the natural. Yes. Listen, we have no excuse. Those of you who are watching from what I call landlocked states, find a pond or a river, but we have no excuse here in Florida. There's not a beach very far away. Put your toes in the sand. There's a song about this. I won't sing it right now because I would meet my cussing quota in one service. I got my toes in the water, in the sand, not a worry in the world, a cold, whatever you want to call it, in your hand. All right. I'm talking about finding harmony with nature by communing with nature. I'm going to say it the way it comes to me. Put your toes in the sand. Go out and sniff the air, the breeze. Put your feet in the grass. Feel the vibration of the earth. Hug a tree. Hug a tree and find it hugging you back. Pet a cat. Be with a pet a dog. Be in the natural outside. Listen to the birds sing. Instead of drinking your coffee on the couch watching TV, consider going out and drinking coffee on the back porch. We don't have much of an excuse in Florida. I mean, it's been kind of chilly lately, but when we say chilly here, other people in Tennessee want to shoot us because they're like, that's chilly. It was 28 degrees here. Go out on the back porch, front porch, listen to the birds sing, tap into nature, get into its flow, and find a sense of aligning yourself with the natural rhythms of life instead of these other things that tend to distract us as I read notes from an iPad. Okay. Embrace it all, but get in there. Here's my affirming prayer for us today in closing. And this is my personal prayer. I invite you into it. Oh, loving source, I ask you to dissolve this attachment that binds me to my limited identity and all its confining concepts. Ignite in me the fire that burns away the control of the ego and the world it creates. Let me be absorbed in your infinite love and presence, here and now, and for all of eternity. And so it is. And so it is. I ask you to enter into this journey, learning how to thrive in 2025. And so it is. Thank you so much. Reverend Carey, if you will, come share.
Happy New Year, family. So good to see you. Just a few announcements. Our Thursday evening meditation every week is 6 p.m. here in the sanctuary. This week is going to be facilitated by Emmanuel. He has a beautiful meditation, so we invite you to be a part of that. Our Oneness and Social Justice team will be meeting on Thursday, the 9th at 7:15 over in our hall. Basically, they're going to be bringing up more information on the fast. I don't know if you guys were here or had been a part of when the fast representative spoke about it, but it's faith in action and strength together. So they're going to be talking more about that and the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade, which First Unity will be a part of. The Wolf Full Moon Drum Circle Sound Bath Meditation with Emmanuel is going to be Monday the 13th at 6 p.m. on Treasure Island Beach. So the parking information is on the flyer. It's 10400 Gulf Boulevard. We have our 2025 membership drive that's going to be activated as of today. If you are already currently a First Unity member, we are so appreciative that you're part of our family. If you're not, see Ronnie in the lobby after the service, and she'll point you in the right way to becoming a member. If you are interested in volunteering in a variety of different ways, we do have a few needs. So our volunteer drive will start today as well. I know the AV department is needing a hand. Hannah in the kitchen is looking for a setup and breakdown. This would be for the 11 a.m. service, and you would not miss service, so you would still be able to be here. You're already here at the devotional service. Good news, guys. If you're not able to make it in person, we are live streaming it, so you can join us on live stream as well every Sunday at 8:30. I believe that's it. So if you have any questions, you can see me in the lobby. I love you guys.
Turn it off. I did turn it off. That was my fault. Those who joined online, thank you for being here today. And I want you to encourage folks that you know in other states that may find this to be of value to them, maybe not in other states, maybe they're on the other coastline, to consider joining us for the 8:30 service or the 11 o'clock service. Now, we're going to get in the middle here. I'm going to let you guys do that. I'm going to help lead the song. But yesterday, that's right. I guess we probably should support this ministry, shouldn't we? But 2 days ago, I started getting a little bit of congestion, so I'm not going to get too close. I don't want to spit on anybody. I wouldn't want to pass anything but love. But we're going to receive the offering. So if you'll look up on the screen, these are the different ways to give. The ways to give on the screen are, and Gavin's like, I'm trying to do cameras and run this too, Dad. Text to give. You can do that and just type in the word give, and it'll actually send you a link back to your phone to guide you through that process. It's a safe and secure way to give through our website. Also, you can go to our First Unity app and click on the yellow heart. You can go to firstunity.org/give. That's a way that you can also sign up for auto giving or make a pledge. Maybe you've decided for the year that you want to give a certain amount. You can do that automatically through the website or through the app. Also, you can give by mailing in your check or money order to the P.O. Box. There's a cash app that's available. It's $ First Unity, SC. There's a QR code also on the offering plates, and there's one going up on the screen right now. And you can actually click that with your phone, and it sends you to all of those safe ways to give. I want to say thank you for being a sustaining partner for this ministry. I'm going to ask Reverend Aileen, if she will, to lead us in the abundance prayer.
So please stand as we lovingly send our energy towards our donations. Together, the abundance of God is my infinite source. I now open my mind and my heart to give and receive all God's good, all God's prosperity, all God's abundance. As God as my source, all things are possible, and so it is.
And so it is. And those who are joining online, that information is going up on the screens as well. For you who are joining in online, you'll be able to see how to give. If you missed that and you're interested in being a sustaining partner, you can also reach out to us by email. That is admin, ADMIN, @firstunity.org. All right, Reverend Aileen and myself, we're going to lead now in the peace song and the prayer of protection. And I'm going to stand right here while y'all hold hands together, and we'll sing that song together. All right. What a beautiful group. You guys are lovely. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Now there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. prayer of protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love. The power of God protects us. I am the power. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. I love you all. Go and make it a great week just because you can, doggone it. I love you.
My sweet Lord, my Lord, my Lord. I really want to see you, really want to be with you, really want to see you, Lord, but it takes so long, my Lord, my sweet Lord.